Today we will continue with the chapter Biotechnology Principles and Processes, and this is the last part of the chapter. And we in this chapter we have already covered the restriction enzymes, the various features of restriction enzymes, the naming of restriction enzymes, various steps of recombination, what is genetic engineering, the cloning vectors, the features of cloning vectors, the different examples of cloning vectors. Then we have already gone through the various steps of recombinant DNA technology, where we have to isolate the DNA, then DNA is fragmented, then desired DNA fragment is isolated, then the amplification of the gene of interest is done, then ligation of the DNA fragment is done into a vector, then the insertion of the recombinant DNA is done into the host, and then the host cells are cultured on a suitable media at a large scale, and then the desired gene product is extracted, and finally the downstream processing of the products as finished product which is actually ready for marketing. Today we will go through the last part of the chapter, that is the downstream processing, where we know that what is actually downstream processing. It is a process where in which a product is actually subjected to before being marketed as a finished product. Okay, now this also includes various processes, that it includes separation of the product from the reactor, then purification of the product, then formulation of the product with suitable preservatives, and lastly quality control and testing, also clinical trials in the case of drugs. Now this downstream processing, since it has to be produced largely or hugely, it has to be a few machines are used, and those machines are referred to as bioreactors. Now bioreactors are actually the vessels of large volumes of around 100 to 1000 liters, in which the raw materials are biologically converted into the specific products. Now what is the advantage of bioreactors? This provides all the optimum conditions for achieving the desired product, and this optimum conditions are provided from externally. Okay, and this is provided by optimal growth conditions like temperature, pH, substrate, salt, vitamin, and oxygen is artificially maintained. That means it is our control. In our control, maintaining the optimum conditions for a particular product or a particular product. Okay, so there are mainly two types of bioreactors. The first one is the stirred tank bioreactor, and the second is a stirred tank bioreactor. In the stirred tank bioreactor, it is also a stirred tank bioreactor where the sterile air bubbles are sparged. Actually these bubbles are electrically charged. Okay, now the stirred tank bioreactors are most commonly used bioreactors, and these are cylindrical with curved base to facilitate proper agitation means mixing, that means shaking of the contents. Now there are various features of the bioreactor. These are basic features which is common in all of the bioreactors. The first is the agitator system, which actually shakes the product well, an oxygen delivery system which keeps the product or the substrate in aerobic condition, a foam controlling system. Since the substrate is continuously agitated or shaked, there is a chance of forming a foam, and so this foam might hinder the process of hinder the process of downstream processing. So there has to be a foam controlling system, then temperature controlling system, a pH controlling system, since an optimum temperature and pH has to be maintained, and lastly the sampling ports to withdraw the cultures periodically. The culture has to be periodically removed, else the bioreactor will overflow. Okay, this stirrer in the stirred tank bioreactor actually mixes the contents and makes the oxygen available throughout the bioreactor. So the chapter ends over here. Students, if you have any doubt, you may please ask through the comment section. If I feel free to ask anything in the comment section. Thank you.